All right, welcome back, everybody, to this episode of Think Business Live with Kevin Kovachevich, principal of District Capital. Kevin, it's great to have you on the show. I've known Kevin for quite a bit. When I got into the real estate business, I'm 48. I was 30 at the time, and then we got introduced. You were starting kind of your career. I was my career in real estate, yeah, it's hard to believe it's now. We met at that train restaurant.
The corner of Franklin and Northwestern from 20 years ago.
It's almost 20 years ago. And
so you'd come and said, Kevin, I want to talk to you about everything you know about real estate. And I think I'd been in business for about a year. So it was a short breakfast meeting.
That was great. It was important for me. I mean, I was starting my business, and it was important for me to reach out to as many mentors and people in the industry that I knew. And so you were highly recommended, and you were a great resource to me all these past 2 decades. So thanks for all of that. And now,
thank you, man. We've had a lot of fun together.
Yeah. And now you're the founder of District Capital. And so I want to talk to you. We're sitting here, it's July 20th. It's the summer, it's COVID. And, how has your world looked, changed and evolved over the last 4 months since pre-March 10th?
Right.
Yeah.
A lot. I mean, look, we started this company in late 2018, early 2019. And part of the reason why we put it together was to have collaboration and to have people thinking and working together. And we've got this really awesome space downtown Detroit in Brush Park, and it's open, it's airy, and we're collaborating all the time. So one of the biggest changes has been, working from home and having to digitally conduct business over email and Zoom and Skype. And that was tough. I mean, we had a rough go with it, but we made it through. We're back in the office now for the most part. It's new world order, right? People work from home more. They come in a little less, but at the same time, I think everybody seems to want to have that collaboration back that we had when we first started, the energy and the flow and all those things that go into being together. So that's been the biggest change. And then as far as the details in the business, it's there's been a major seismic shift in how money's lent on commercial real estate right now, and we're having to deal with that. And it having gone through a lot of changes in the real estate lending environment over the last 20 years, it's not anything new, but it definitely was unexpected. And we're pivoting and we're figuring it out. We had actually the best quarter of our young company's career in the second quarter of 2020, which was surprising, but a lot of it had to do with timing, and the timing worked out well. But we closed through all this stuff, which is great.
Let's talk about, I want to dive into, it was unexpected and to pivot. I think a lot of companies, because the last decade or so, I'm not saying anything's been easy, but everybody's been kind of, riding on some momentum. And I think a lot of companies didn't have a plan B or plan C kind of in their back pocket, where I think that's changing, I think that's changing quarterly meetings moving forward for a long, long time. And so as you kind of look forward, and as you, what are you doing to make, to map out your plan B and C so you can kind of keep your team intact, your business moving forward, and the definition of collaboration is still, a part of your business?
Yeah, I mean, that's the core of the business is being able to bounce things off each other. And with technology, we were lucky enough, not that we thought, in advance of this, but we were lucky enough to be all cloud-based, all web-based. Everyone had a work set up at home. Everyone had a work set up wherever they were. And the office was readily available at their fingertips. So we had all the technology set up. And that was just a function of where technology was at the time when we were starting the business. So on a go-forward basis, look, I think we take some of the cons that we learned from this and work from there. And going forward, if we're stuck in this position longer, it's making sure that we fix some of the things that we didn't like during this experimental time of working from home and remotely. And
Yeah.
a lot of it's, a lot of the things that are changing across the spectrum of our business with respect to the way that property inspections are conducted, the way that we interact with tenants as we have to go into these buildings and do inspections. So a lot's changing. I think that going forward, we're going to see changes that are expected given the pandemic, but at the same time, we've got to figure out a way to still conduct business and stay the course.
Yeah. So I want to talk about technology for a minute, because, I love hearing that people had workstations at home, you're cloud-based, you're in front of technology. And so I think moving forward, I think a lot of companies were left kind of realizing they were stuck in 2005, 6, 7, or 8 when COVID hit. And so what is technology? 2 questions. What does technology look like moving forward? And then let's start there. What does technology look like moving forward when it comes to running your business over the next decade?
That's a great question. I'm not a technology guy, so you're probably asking the wrong guy about that. But I think from our perspective, a lot more is going to get done digitally. A lot less in-person meetings. Like I said, like we typically, you've got a deal that you're underwriting. You're going through each tenant in an office building. You're going to kick tires at each tenant's suite, meeting people, walking through the buildings, and there's going to be less of that. A lot more digital.
But do you think, real quickly, Kevin, do you think it's just because, COVID will pass, right? This too shall pass.
Right.
But I'm thinking, what are the new standards going to be? I think people are looking at time and saying, wow, you know what? I don't necessarily know if I need to take the time to do this, and just efficient makes everything so much more efficient moving forward.
Well, yeah, look, the efficiencies are going to come out of this mess for sure. I mean, you learn how to work remotely. You learn how to do the things that you need to do and things that didn't need to get done or were getting done because they were a redundant part of someone's business. I think those things will get cut out. But, at the end of the day, when we go back to normalcy, let's say, and we're operating at full tilt, you're going to migrate back to the old ways eventually. And I think there's some things are going to stick and some things are going to go back to, I guess, the old school method of doing business where, there's a lot of handshakes and meetings and face-to-faces and seeing people and interactions. But as far as going forward, I mean, look, any inefficiencies that are in a bit of company's current model have been vetted out throughout this process. And I think you're going to real quickly figure out what you need and what you don't need, and how you can avoid, redundant practices.
Yeah, I think that's the key, having a higher level of consciousness of what to avoid. I agree with that.
I mean, that's what we're all learning right now, right? We're all learning what works, what doesn't. And then the things that didn't work in the business that you can get around now, it's just further making things more efficient. Every single year that passes by, our businesses get more efficient. I mean, 20 years ago when we met, I was still creating packages with, the binder and making 20 packages with actual photographs pasted onto a piece of paper and bound together and FedExed out. Now, it's all digital. We used to fly aerials of buildings. Like we had to hire to fly an aerial. And now we're just Google Maps, right?
I remember we would pay like $2,000 for a plane to go take an aerial, something that was selling up in the UP that I was selling. And just like you said, I would send 6 different files to our, office manager to put together this,
It's crazy. And now it's all done over email. It's perfect.
Yeah. It's crazy. I want to talk about managing your team, because it sounds like you were set up with cloud-based, set up where people could work from home. So it sounds like you had a little bit of experience managing your people from home. But when it comes to collaboration, when it comes to keeping your culture, when it comes to, evolving, like you talked about, giving people a space to communicate, to collaborate. I mean, we're human beings. We need that. How were you able to manage, inspire, and keep your people intact, through this and still now?
Yeah, I mean, look, the tough part was the Zoom meetings during the thick of the stay at home. That was difficult, but we did it, and we tried to stay with our regular, weekly meetings, and we had fun with it. I mean, I think at one point I grew out a really mean Joe Exotic, mustache, and had the Tiger King as a background, and we kept it fun, we kept it light, we kept people engaged, and we were on the phone constantly with each other. I mean, between text, emails, phone calls, and we got this instant messaging system that's great. We could we could stay with each other at all time, and that that part of it is important. Is like constantly staying in touch with each other and having fun with it. Because I mean, what worse could you think of than a pandemic working at home? I mean, you got to have some fun.
Yeah.
And we tried to have as much fun as we could while getting business done, keeping everyone engaged. I mean, it's hard. You've got people working from home that haven't done it before, and they got their own struggles having to work from home. Who knows? Everyone's got their own situation. You might have kids at home that you normally wouldn't be used to working with kids around, or you might have, whatever.
Yeah.
Whatever the situation is, everyone had to figure their own thing out, and then we had to figure out a way to collaborate and stay in touch and have fun. I mean, that's the key part of it. If you're not having fun doing what we're doing, then hang it up.
Yeah, no, I agree with that. But I just want to kind of add one thing onto that. Like, I think fun is important. I think I agree with everything you just said. But I still believe that accountability is also an important element of business, because there's accountability. What you're talking about is fun and infusing effective communication into everything that you're doing. Accountability, I'm a big believer that also part of that recipe is gratitude and empathy, not only internally, but also externally with our clients. And so how are you able, just to kind of zoom in, how are you able to have fun, Tiger King, this, that, and the other, blah, 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 and but still hold people accountable to what they needed to get done?
Well, look, it all starts with, I think, hiring the right people, right? So you have the right people out of the gate. You don't necessarily need to hold anyone accountable. You just have to make sure that the work that you expect to be done is getting done. And that's one of our mantras here is like, we don't have hours, right? It's like, come in and get your stuff done.
Yeah.
And then leave. And if you're done, make sure everyone's taken care of and on you go. And so the accountability portion is a very important part of the business, but it starts with the hire. So if you've got good people surrounding you, which we've got an unbelievable team of people that kill it every day and don't need to be reminded to kill it and don't need to be babysat. And, when you've got that culture of everyone's looking to help everybody out, help each other out, move the ball forward at all times, it's really quite easy to manage and to not have to worry about accountability. Yeah. But look, oftentimes we're a small business, and so oftentimes mid-sized businesses don't have that luxury of just trusting that every single person is top notch and they're comfortable with their production. So that's tough, and I think part of the process during this stay at home was making sure that we kept those weekly meetings that we always had, and we held accountability to making sure that the work got done and people's deals were moving along. And look, when you're in the service business like we are, and you rely upon making sure that you deliver a service to a client, that's the single most important piece of the business. And letting someone down is like the worst feeling that in our business that you could ever come across. So it's making sure that we were constantly on our toes and making sure we're moving the ball forward at all times.
Let's talk about that. So dealing with clients, right? I mean, we talked a little bit internally, now externally, right? So March 12th, 13th hits, the whole world is just, almost frozen in fear a little bit. As everyone is kind of figuring it out, it seems like some of that fear has been lifted. Not that, there's still serious stuff going on, but how have you been communicating? What are some of the, key things that you do to effectively communicate with your clients and hold their hands through all of this over the last couple of months?
Well, one of the things we started out doing because of the level of uncertainty that was out there was putting out a newsletter or, just a quick summary of what's happening in our world, because it was changing by the week and it was frustrating on our end. So I couldn't imagine how frustrating it was to be a a client and a borrower that wasn't sure which end was up, who had money, who was lending, who wasn't. So we started putting out our regular.
Keep talking. I'm going to move my dog. Keep talking.
Go ahead. Take care of it.
Go ahead.
And so, yeah, getting the newsletter out and keeping people abreast, staying in front of our clients and just communicating with them at all times was critical during all this. And then, picking up, we did a lot more phone calling than we ever have. Just picking up the phone and calling people, touching base, not just to check in to see how they're doing, just to check in to see what's new in their world, because this was such a unique situation that you just wanted to talk to everybody and talk to people and just check in. Even if it wasn't about business, it was just checking in. We may not have any business to do, but just checking in with old clients, old friends, old lenders, just touch base. It's been great. That part of this stay-at-home pandemic situation was interesting because it really gave you the time to kind of touch base and reach out to people when otherwise you'd be running 100 miles an hour and just focus on the next deal or the next thing or the next project, as opposed to making phone calls and saying hello to old friends.
Yeah. I agree with you. I think that pause was, I think, well needed I know for me, for my family, I'm going to say for everybody. It was just like, I agree with you. And so what were some of the things that you, whether business or personally, took some pause to do?
As far as,
yeah. Like for me, it was the greatest. I had dinner with my kids and my wife every single night.
Yeah. I mean, we ate well. And that first we were, you're firing up the grill and you're making up some things.
That right.
That was great. I mean, look, the speed that we kept both business and personal and family wise. I got 4 kids. They're all teens or tweens, and we were running 100 miles an hour. Dinner, all 6 of us together. Dinner was. We tried, but it was almost impossible during the week with sports and activities and things that were going on. So the slow down, the pause, I mean, the amount of time we spent with our kids was fantastic. We will never see that again in our lives. And we took every minute and cherished it. And it was great. I mean, I can't wait for them to go back to school, but it was a fantastic time and wouldn't change it for a thing. And, look, it reminds you how fast you're moving. And how many things you missed, and the ability to slow down and I mean, how many walks did you take? I took a walk a day. I was putting on miles a day, and it was great. Just to slow down.
Yeah, a ton of walks, a ton of Monopoly, a ton of family dinners.
Absolutely.
A ton of baked goods. I think we were baking something like every single night. I mean, I think
you had to. I mean, you had to kill time.
Yeah,
it was great. But look, it was a nice pause, and I think everyone's itchy and ready to get back to the business and get cranking again. But I will tell you, it's definitely changed the mentality of having to go 100 miles an hour all the time. I think going 80 is completely acceptable.
Yeah, I think I agree with you 100%, and it's almost recalibrating ourselves that. Absolutely. Because I think you and I were the same. You're at 100, and then you get kind of bored with being 100, so you go 110, and then you get bored with being 100, and all of a sudden you're going 150, and you can't figure out how to back off for a minute. And so, but I agree with you, and that, and what I find is, based on that, a lot of companies that I'm working with, and ones that I'm just hearing and reading about, the playbook is new, is starting from scratch in many ways. And everybody is resetting their visions, right? And what I'm finding is they're resetting their visions with more clarity, with more balance, with more time to do exactly what you're talking about. So how has District Capital kind of reset their vision, for the next, let's just say, 1 to 3 years?
Yeah, so I think we were probably a little more reactive than we were proactive because things were coming at us so quickly, right? So now we've had a chance to become a proactive firm where we're targeting certain clients, and we're really thinking about the needs that are out there, the needs of our clients, where we can take them to the next level, creative things that we can do, to stand out, to be different than the rest of the firms that are out there, and proactive is just such a better way to conduct business than reactive. Because we do it all the time with our text messages and our emails, and it's just you're reacting to things that are coming at you as opposed to proactively thinking about how can I make this better? What can I do to make that work a little better? And so you can see some flaws in your business as you had a chance to sit down and reflect and have the time, and then you can fix those flaws and make changes to the business that are positive and I'm a big fan of the proactive approach now. It's great.
Yeah. And one of the things I'm seeing, I love that. I agree with what you're saying, is a lot of companies are really focused on, the true experience. You have BMW, who now at a lot of places you can actually run it, run around drive around the course. Land Rover, they're starting to have places where you can go, instead of just going to look at the car, you can go off-roading with the car. Moving to more of an experiential type of value add experience. And I think we're going to see that in a lot of companies over the next couple of years, for sure over the next decade, as it gets harder and harder to differentiate yourself.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Agreed.
When you're looking at your business and you're looking at just the lending market, Wall Street Journal just came out with an article. Lowest interest rates, 2.98% in the on record. So talk a little bit about the market, what you're seeing right now, and how long this is going to last.
Sure. So you're probably referring to like residential home rates, and so in the commercial space, it's slightly different, and commercial real estate values are all predicated on cash flow, predictable cash flow. And right now we're in a situation where cash flow is very unpredictable. You can read all these reports now that say that collections are fantastic and everyone's doing great, but in reality, those collections are probably buoyed by federal stimulus, unemployment checks, PPP loans, and the trillions of dollars that have been thrown at it. So we don't have a true picture of what this pandemic really has done to the cash flows of commercial real estate. And so as we sit here today, lenders are pretty smart people. They realize that these cash flows have some unpredictability now. So what's happened in the commercial real estate space, while rates continue to be low, just because that's the nature of the market and there's very few places to put your money to get a yield, rates continue to be low. However, underwriting standards have tightened up a bit, and leverage has dropped a bit, and amortization has fallen a bit, just to make everything a little more conservative. There's dollars out there, deals are getting done, but you've got guys on the sidelines that just quite honestly don't want to buy right now because what's your cash flow look like a year from now?
Right.
What are you buying into? And so, there's a lot of folks that are just sitting there. There's tons of money on the sidelines, John. I mean, record amounts of liquidity on the sidelines. This is not a 2008, 2009 situation where liquidity evaporated. There's tons of liquidity. It's just that liquidity wants to make sure it's safely deploying its capital, and they're putting it into deals that make some sense. And when the tides turn, lenders right now have the pick of the litter, right? So a deal that we're bringing to market has to have some very strong attributes to get attention of lenders, because they've got hundreds of deals they're looking at on a daily basis, and they can pick up their spots. So the rates are low, the money's available. The landscape's just changed a little bit with respect to underwriting.
Yeah. Well, like you're talking about, I mean, real estate, Wall Street, lenders, buyers, everybody, it's a forecast projection game.
Yeah.
And so, it's I appreciate that recap. I think it's important. And so real quickly, before we get into the speed round, Kevin, tell everybody your ideal client.
I mean, we are not a picky firm outside of wanting to do business with anyone that's doing commercial real estate, cash flowing properties. We've got $1 million minimum in terms of the loan amounts. We just don't have lending sources that go below that. But we've got a team that covers the entire spectrum of clients, from the guys that are just coming out with their first deal. I mean, how many of those guys, John, have we dealt with, right? That have grown to be big developers that have grown their business successfully. So we don't discriminate. If it's a deal on the smaller side, we've got a team of guys and gals that want to work on the smaller deals. And then if you've got a gigantic transaction where we've done quite a few deals over $50 million that, we can absolutely take that on as well. And we look for a lot of those deals as well. So it's the big spectrum of sizes and types and really anything that cash flows on the commercial side, we're looking for.
Good. And tell people, give people your phone number, contact information.
District Capital is website's www.districtcapitaldetroit.com, and we can be reached at 313-241-9200, located in Brush Park, downtown, right above Second Best Bar, if you ever want to come visit and check out our space.
I love it. All right, ready for the speed round?
The speed round, sure.
Speed round, all right, here we go. A lot of kids graduated college over the last couple of weeks. Different world than what they thought was when the year started. What advice would you give someone graduating college today?
Graduating college today. Take some time. I mean, you did it, I did it. We jumped right from college right into the workforce.
Yeah.
Take some time and go screw around. Travel. Well, you can't travel now, but hit the road in the U.S. and take a drive. I mean, I would just take some time and not jump feet first into a job, because there's going to be plenty of opportunity to do that down the road.
Smart. Yeah. Take some time just to breathe. All right. Favorite book and why?
Favorite book is, I would say, Liar's Poker. Just a phenomenal book that just pumps me up every time I read it, and is just it's a fun story, and love the author.
Wait, so the Liar's Poker also wrote another book.
Moneyball.
Moneyball. Right. Moneyball. Yeah. I think I bought Liar's Poker when we had coffee a couple of years ago. I think you told me to buy it. I bought it. I never read it, but now I own it.
Please do. It's just worth it. It's it takes place in the late 80s. Salomon Brothers. It's just very Wall Street, and it's a cool story.
Yeah. All right. I'm gonna check that out. Best piece of wisdom you've ever received.
Best piece of wisdom I've ever received, John. This is a tough one. It's got to be something from my wife, because she's a pretty smart woman and steers me straight all the time. Pass on that one. Move on to the next one.
Done. Mentor. How powerful is the power of a mentor?
Oh, it's powerful. I mean, look, the right mentor can teach you a lot about the business, and can also teach you a lot of things that you don't want to do in business. And so, mentors, good or bad, I mean, they're important pieces of the growth of an individual in business, and you learn, the pros and the cons from that mentor.
All right, I'm gonna go back and give you another version of the last question. All right.
Okay.
So, the person who's listening to this now or in the future, right now, as of July 20th, somebody is stuck in their business because there's so much news coming at them, they just don't even know how to move. What advice would you give them to keep going?
Stick with your knitting. Practice what you know. Practice what you know and what you've been trained to do. Don't try to do something outside of the box. Stay in your box. Stay in your lane. If you're good at what you do, you'll be successful. If you just stay at it and keep going. If you try to pivot constantly into different things, it's going to be a train wreck. And if you stay with what you know, stay the course. Everybody goes through tough times, and it may be in a prolonged tough time, but you eventually get through it. I mean, you and I went through 2008 and 2009 together, and that was just all.
Yeah.
Stay the course, and good things will happen.
Yeah. I agree. What I'll add to that is double down, triple down, quadruple down. That's what you got to do, right? I'm a
fan of that.
Right. And so, just based on your Liar's Poker, right? But it's not, but it's true. Like just keep on investing. If you're in alignment with what you should be doing, then you can take action. If you're all over the place and trying to readjust every time, there's pivoting, and then there's pivoting to get back into alignment. And so, double down, triple down, quadruple down. I don't know whatever's after that, but blah, blah, blah down. But invest in yourself and your business and keep on going.
I like that.
This too shall pass. And to me, the people, once we get past this, the clients, the people are going to look back and say either, wow, you helped me get through it, or where the hell have you been?
Right.
And so you gotta stay in the game. Absolutely stay in the game.
Agree with you there, buddy.
Yeah. Kevin, a pleasure talking with you. I'm excited to actually interview your wife on Friday with her business, which will be fun.
She'll be way more interesting than I'll be. She's
bookend the days with Kovacheviches. And tell everybody one more time how to get a hold of you.
You can call us at the office at 313-241-9200 or www.districtcapitaldetroit.com.
All right. Kevin, a pleasure. Thanks for all the wisdom you shared.
Thank you, John. This was great, man.
I appreciate it, and keep on growing, keep on doing what you're doing. And I just want to highlight one thing: the way that you run your business, to not micromanage your people, but you talked about hiring the right people. I think that is the core of every successful company and the downfall of every company that fails. And so hiring the right people so you don't have to micromanage and worry about accountability as much is key. So I appreciate everything you said today, and you as a business person, as a good friend, I appreciate it. Thanks so much. And
thank you, John. I really appreciate it. This is great.
Thanks, man. Talk to you.
Thank you.